We'll go ahead and open up our work session for April 4th, 2017 at this time. If everyone could please either silence, since I haven't, or turn off their cell phones, and please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice, I just noticed that.
Thank you.
Yeah, looks nice.
Yes.
I work on
Thank you,
it.
Dave.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Still, Denise, additions or deletions?
We have no additions, but we do have two deletions. Budget resolution 2016-08 and our emergency management update has been postponed.
Okay.
Till 10:30.
No, well, we do have a time change on the Silver Lake
Okay, so
ambulance staffing.
then the tag is.
That's moved to 10:30.
Okay, we'll go ahead and start then with our other business, and because he's a very busy guy today, we're gonna ask our road superintendent, Kevin Hawk, to come up. Got some training going on down at the office, so.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, this is RFQ for our herbicide program, goes out each season. These are the two historical vendors that would give us quotes. The lowest was Crop Production Services, $28,095.60. So here for the approval of that award.
Okay, we do have it on the agenda, excuse me, Kevin, for tomorrow, so, if there isn't any other information that we need to.
Only that it's historical, it's the
Yeah.
same quantities and the same, it's to do the same cyclical fashion that we spray shoulders and clear zones and so forth, so.
Okay.
Tomorrow I am with the people from DEQ, so I won't be able to.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine, I think we can.
So you recommend the lower of the two quotes, obviously?
Yeah, the lower is crop production, $28,995.60.
Yep, okay.
Now go ahead. Go ahead and take it up tomorrow.
Great.
Take care of it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Have a good day down there. Okay, Ronnie,
Oh, all right.
Fairgrounds IT project request. Morning.
Good morning. Basically, it's just that. So the IT department got together and they had a recommendation for the fairgrounds for upgrading the computer stuff down there and having a server and some stuff. Anyway, the amount was $46.50. And what it does is brings up to courthouse standards, is how Josh explained it. A lot of that is security. Right now, we have no backup. Well, I have an external backup drive that I put down there just to have. But other than that, we don't have any of that. One of the computers isn't even, isn't even on a backup at all. So what I was wondering, what I was wondering was, sorry.
You need some water?
No, I just have some, okay. I was wondering if that $46.50 from the open request that we got last year on the paving patching for the food court, et cetera, we did paving and patching, and we did a whole lot of extra patching, which was great. And we only used $13,139.86. So out of that $40,000 request, we still have $26,860. I talked to Kevin, who was just here, and he, because we're having it chip sealed also, and it will be chip sealed, well, September or October. But we also wanted to, besides chip sealing the areas that were patched, we wanted to do a little preservation and do the driveways going up and that basically that whole U where we get all the traffic going around like that. And in talking to him, he thought if I saved $12,500 out of that money, that would more than cover it. So That's still leaving us with 14,360 that we're not going to be touching.
So Ryan, we chatted about this, but when you talk about some of that, is that gonna be past, that Kevin would be doing past this budget year?
Yes, that
So
we'd have to carry
would
over.
be recycled.
Yeah, yeah, because he said he can't do it until probably September or October
And when did Josh and Denise say that we could do these IT upgrades by?
this year.
Okay.
We're hoping to have them done as soon as possible so that everything's in place as they go into the
See,
roundup season.
Yeah.
As you guys remember, we've worked to get all of our departments up to a certain standard. Fairgrounds is the last to be put on their own server. The way that they're set up right now, we're very nervous about their Fairgrounds software. If that data is lost, they're gonna have a heck of a time. So this, in our standpoint of things, it's pretty important that we get Fairgrounds up to
well,
par.
in this day and age, I think we'd all agree, it's just a matter of whether or not we take what we approved last year in an open request, which makes a lot of sense to do that because we did have the savings. And we shouldn't have to wait till a new budget year to develop that money again.
As
Got
a
it.
side note, after this meeting, at some point, there is about another $300 that we need to add to that though. Because I got with Mr. Brown yesterday, and there's a couple of other little things,
sure.
there's always a couple of other little things that we
Sure.
have.
So we did have Josh come out to the fair board meeting to educate the fair board on all this. This is an expense that wasn't budgeted within the fair board budget. We all understand that it, I'm on the fair board now for the audience. We understand it needs to be done, but there wasn't no dollars budgeted for this at all within this budget year. The other thing is our admin fee went up about $5,000 out there, so this multiplies to almost a $10,000 added cost. Within this next budget year, the $5,000 hit us, but the $4,000 and change, or almost $5,000 for IT wasn't budgeted at all. We see the need and everything. Ronnie's done a good job out there on the preservation of the asphalt, and you were out there, Kim was out there and seen it last year. What Ronnie is doing is trying to get a grant so that we can put a plan together for the whole fairground, so that instead of putting asphalt on top of infrastructure that's outdated, we'll have a plan from under the ground on up. So that's the reason why the dollars were able to be carried forward, because we basically done the minimum, not the full middle deal, so.
Yeah, but that gave us a $8,000 savings, so it's
Yeah.
the patch and chip seal this fall will be 12.
Right, so,
We still got 14,000.
yeah,
This year's.
yeah.
Well, we do have it on, I don't wanna skate over this by any means, but it has to be done. It makes a lot of sense the way you planned it, the fair board and the approach and.
Yeah, I was just going to throw a curve to everybody on top of it, even the fair board manager. Besides the, let's just call it $4,500 or $5,000 for the IT, there is a need for a little bit of other work that'd be similar to the paving out there, some handicap areas or whatever. Ronnie's been investigating,
Yes.
either temporary, I sort of leaned toward some cement, if there was any consideration for that to go past some of that leftover money that could be put into cement for some areas next to the bleachers for the handicap. We can't get the barns and everything out there to that, it'll never happen, but at least to the bleachers. Well, you can go ahead and say what your cost for.
Well, I researched two different kinds. There was a hard, they're called temporary pedestrian crosswalk, or walkways. There's a hard kind, which has handicap, little ramps on each side, so they can go. And roughly we were figuring 80 feet plus the ramps, because that would give us two going in on each side. That cost is about $3,000, $3,100. Then there's also, the one that I really like, just aesthetically, is a rollaway wooden pathway, which is an up to 20-year guarantee. It's treated pine, something like that. I have pictures, it was really awesome. But it's roughly about the same thing, it's $3,000. And I guess I tend to lean to temporary, because if we're going to change stuff out there, if we get the grant and actually get to do stuff, I don't wanna have to be digging up cement, but cost-wise, cement would be,
Long-term.
well, it could be torn up, but it would also be so much cheaper.
Well,
I
first,
mean-
let me,
First blush at it.
Yeah, yeah.
let me throw a curve here.
Okay.
Ronnie and I talked about this on Friday quite a
Yeah.
bit, and originally, that's where I thought one of our 10 highest priorities, that was one of our highest of those 10,
Yeah.
was to get that done so that people that go to the fair and go to the animal sale and show and everything could have good access there that was safe to walk on. So I'd like to recommend, because it's not on our agenda today, that it get put on it for tomorrow, because I think the sooner we act on this, with a recommendation from you tomorrow as to which way, not, I mean, it's nice to know the options,
Okay.
but I'd like to hear a recommendation, and you can probably consult with your different
Okay.
board members as to what you
Yes.
do, and we take action tomorrow to move this forward.
Sounds like we got
Okay.
work to do this
We can do
afternoon.
it. We can do it.
Okay?
You betcha.
We have the money that was allocated last year for this type of work.
Yes.
Might as well capitalize on it.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you guys for
Yeah.
the support.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Ronnie, we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
I'm gonna give us a whole bunch of options tomorrow.
Thanks, okay.
Jay,
That's
Mr.
a
Greer.
good options.
Mr. Brown, go first, since he was here before me.
Well, I didn't ask, I think he's busy. Morning, Jake.
Morning, Commissioner.
You have, I believe, 3 items, and you can go through them as it's listed on the agenda, or however you want to do it.
The first one is Riders Intervention. It's an RFP historically, going back 4 years. We had an MOU, Community Justice had an MOU with Lake County Mental Health to provide those services, Riders Intervention services. With the split from County Mental Health to the hospital, and Tara Jones leaving mental health, he wanted to work for the hospital. We entered into a MOU with the hospital to provide those services, as Tara Jones was our only therapist in the county. So currently, the hospital still has that, but they understand it's up for RFP.
Okay.
So we're one out, since it's no longer past $2 to another county agency, we're out for RFP. Same can be said for the sex offender therapy, which is the second item we can talk about. Again, Tara Jones was providing those services at Lake County Mental Health. She left Lake County Mental Health for the hospital. Shortly thereafter, the hospital picked up the community mental health program. So we entered into an MOU with the hospital to provide those services. So Tara is currently providing those services to the hospital, for the hospital. Excuse me. Our MRT, which is moral recognition therapy, it's a cognitive-based substance abuse program. What currently that's with, again, with Lake District Wellness Center. We had an MOU with Lake County Mental Health. That continued on until Lake County Mental Health went to the Lake District Hospital. So with that being said, we're also putting that up for RFP. The Riders Intervention is for $10,000 the fiscal year. The sex offender therapy is for $10,000 the fiscal year. And all that does is that guarantees that we have that provider there. So it's about $833 a month that we pay the provider, having that provider accessible to us. The clients also pay a fee to them as well. And they pay for their own assessments, so.
And Jake, over the years, had a lot of discussions about these, and they've been passed through basically over the years.
I can answer.
Over the years, we've had several different discussions, there've been people on this go out to bid over the years, on these are out for RFP. It's no longer a pass-through or anything. Is there written in here, is there guarantees or is there cap that it won't go over the 10,000 in
Yeah,
this?
it's written in there, no more than 10,000.
Okay.
And it's also written in there, that this is for 2 years, so I don't have to do this every year, with the possibility, with the potential of extending that an additional 2 bienniums for additional 4 years.
So that's
So
written.
potentially, but we don't have to go through this process again for 6 years,
So-
depending on level of service and how things are going.
We won't see you before us potentially again?
What's that?
Or we won't see you before us again potentially?
You'll see me before, I'll be back before you guys.
But not on this subject.
Hopefully not on this subject. As far as the MRT goes, that is, that's our measure, $57 we get from the state, and that comes as a biennium. Dollar figure 50,000 is the bare minimum. It's the minimum amount for small counties. So we are, I shouldn't say guaranteed, but we should get the basic allotment of 50,000 for a biennium, so that's $25,000 a year. All these are county-wide, so it doesn't mean our North Lake counties, our North Lake clients drive to Lakeview for services. I've made that perfectly clear to the providers that are interested. They are to have an office in the north end of the county to provide services up there.
Yeah.
They cater to the whole county, not just make people drive to Lakeview.
So
It's been a long program to get ladders and sex offenders services provided within the county. So people have to take a day off, drive to Cape Falls.
Absolutely. That happened prior to my arrival in 2012. Prior to 2012, all of our clients went to Klamath Falls for services.
And also, I haven't had a chance to peruse through all of these, but it is basically on each of these that the services will be provided in Lake County.
In Lake County. Yep.
And also, just for the audience, Dave specifically, will you, just for the audience, explain what the MRT is?
Moral recognition.
No, what it does.
What it does, it's a cognitive-based substance abuse treatment, so it's some thinking, attacking there, thinking there, the views, and tries to get them back in tune with what we consider normal views. I know that's a hard concept to grab onto what's normal, because how do you measure what's normal, but oftentimes their thoughts are.
We got 3 different opinions.
Yeah.
I would call for saying that.
Well, don't.
Different opinions is good. But
So, my hope and intent, do you need to be here tomorrow for this, for the action consideration?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We've been doing,
Jim Bailey, county council, he reviewed it, and I got his blessings to move forward with him. So my hope and intent is, as it's listed in there for the different timelines, is to get to the paper Thursday. So it can just have a similar blur, we'll get ready to figure out what we're supposed to say, or get to Jay. And hopefully make it online. That closes May 5th, 11 a.m.
We should be able to take action tomorrow and have it all done for you.
so after it goes out and everything, you come back to the proposal and we'll approve.
Yeah, we'll have a review.
But this is, so there's services in Lake County, that doesn't mean everybody that needs the services will stay in Lake County, they have an option.
Yeah.
Because there's still people that go to Klamath County or other places for services, so.
They
This
don't
could,
have that, but they have the ability for that, yes.
I know on the batters, there's been quite a few that has opted to not do it here, so. It gives an opportunity for it to happen here, but offenders have options, I guess, is what I would say.
Yep. So, yeah.
Okay.
So closes the 5th, and then we'll have a review panel, and then we have some, I'm sure there's gonna be follow-up questions, so we have an interview date set, to interview the candidates for the program, and then, we'll make our determination with the board.
Is there, I think Ronnie might have a question back there, Mr. Chair.
I did, sir. I just wanted to know, so are these services going to be both in Lakeview and in North Lake?
Yes.
Super, okay.
They currently are right now.
Okay, so they're not meeting in Paisley anymore?
Well,
I know North Lake was coming to Paisley for quite a while.
I can't answer that question as far as Paisley goes, because we have clients that drive to Lakeview,
Right.
we also have clients that drive to North Lake, so I think they get their choice.
Okay.
But no, there's nothing specific about Paisley, it's
Well,
specific.
no, North Lake used to have to come to Paisley.
Yeah.
And Tara would meet there, so that's what I was wondering.
So Tara, and currently Tara's doing those services, and
Cool.
she has an office in Paisley,
Okay, yeah.
for her personal business.
Right.
But I think she also uses for some of these things as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And to expand on Mr. Winter, if a person chooses to go to outside the county to get the service, how does that affect payment?
They don't, it doesn't. The clients are responsible for their own payments if they want to go out of county.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Jake.
You bet.
Appreciate it. We'll take action tomorrow then. Mr. David Berman, you've got a couple of things to bring to us today.
Hope you can buy a level, because that's not quite level.
I like the design you picked.
Wasn't my choice.
Yeah, but you wasn't.
I
You
get,
wasn't successful on your choice.
I get drunk all the
Oh,
time.
Whose choice was it?
Mine.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay,
What do you want to talk about first?
that's up to you.
Anything
You've got
you
2 hours. Go ahead.
I got the grant from the Pacific Pine, the 5-foot easement, they're wanting to put a loading dock in on the spur that goes into their facility, but 5 foot of it, they want to put it on our right of way for the route, so I want to give them an easement so they can put their, and it's pretty low maintained, it's just basically a gravel driveway up to the dock so they can load the trucks and stuff. So they put a easement together, agreement, and pretty simple. They'll be responsible for all the maintenance expense, all the costs, and nothing to do with us other than giving them that 5-foot easement.
And you checked with that legal counsel?
Yes.
Sounds pretty straightforward, Dave.
Yeah.
We've got we have it on tomorrow for action, so.
And it has no negative impact on easement as far as functionality.
None at all.
Okay.
The only question, Dave, I'm sorry, I never caught it. They're responsible for all recording of all the, to put it on the deed and everything. I know you and I talked about.
Yes, it is on here.
I'm not finding it as I do, it's in there. I know.
Yeah, I read it on here.
Okay, perfect.
Set procedures under
As long as all cost of recording of the easement onto the deed and everything is their responsibility.
Yeah, it's in here somewhere.
Okay. Legal counsel should make sure that's in there.
I think it's on 4.
It's on 4.
Shall comply with the ordinance. No, that's it. But I'll make sure it's in there.
Yeah, yeah, that
Point that out to us.
That way the deed in the clerk's office is correct, and if somebody else comes along later, it's all recorded appropriately, okay?
So for signing purposes, on the signing page, it says grantor Lake County Railroad. Is that gonna be signed by the board? Do you want it to just say Lake
Yeah.
County rather than Lake County Railroad?
Yeah, we own the railroad, so I would think that'd be appropriate.
Just change it to Lake County
It's a
then?
drop off road.
Okay.
Like,
Good catch.
We maybe need to ask legal counsel. I think it's fine,
yeah.
because Lake County Railroad is us.
Yeah,
The leasee is a whole different entity.
yeah, you can ask legal counsel, I think that's fine also.
Okay?
And then, as you know, our industrial park, we kind of need a new procedure. I don't know if it's new, but we need to go back to the old way or whatever it was before my time. But I've got with Ginger with economic development, I've got a procedure that we're gonna look at done for the use of the incubator building and do it by steps instead of just kind of letting people rent it. So I got with Ginger, and she's kind of wrote up what they'll kind of help us with, for us to lease that out for businesses, you know, business plan and stuff like that. So they will go through economic development before they will come to us. We'll kind of let them guide us to where they need to lease when they get to that point with the businesses, so.
So you'll,
Well, Dave, maybe in their error, maybe on my part or our part is, it's always, that's what we've always done in the past. You coming on probably, maybe we missed a cog, but that's expectation out of SCOED. And that's what we've always done, is they're always part of the economic development and help and promote. That's what the incubator building's for, is for a business to come in and get established. And so whenever you came on, maybe the boards never really, to me, we didn't have to have this in writing as part of SCOED's duties as being the economic development district, but it's good to have it in writing, so.
Never been laid out, that's succinctly.
And as I come on, it wasn't laid out to me to that specific, so this is kind of.
well,
Gonna be
it's
good for me.
definitely needed, so
Yeah.
that'll be good. So,
You guys have anything to say to that?
Good morning. Basically, you know, as far as we're concerned, working with you to kind of make sure that any business that is rotating has done kind of their own due diligence and gone through the, you know, the financial analysis for themselves and looked at their viability. The one thing we want to make sure, though, that SCOED does not have responsibility for the physical building itself or maintenance and that oversight. That's, I assume
Yeah.
is clear in.
yeah, and it says it in this letter.
So that, you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, I have, since we've been discussing this, I was over about 3 weeks ago and did discuss, meet with a potential business that is looking at your facility. I'm not sure where they're at right now. There is some activity out there, so that's good news.
It is. Yeah, we want it full of good
Yeah,
VCs, so, yes.
we do have a few success stories over the years.
We'll take action on that tomorrow then, Dave.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Betty. Mr. Collins.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Who's that? Mr. Collins.
Mr. J. Collins.
There we
Good
go.
morning.
Good morning. Love that sign.
I do too.
As far as the handbook goes, we just had 3 things that were still left up in the air last time we talked. The first was making the handbook match the union contract in terms of the comp time policy. So we've added some language in there that would sunset if, or the handbook's policy would change with the union contract. But if that policy sunsets, then it's removed or changed in the handbook also. You've seen that, I think we're all in agreement on that. The overtime issue, we had some disagreement among attorneys. We've got that worked out now, so the language that I originally proposed is what I think we need to go with. Any questions or discussion about that?
When you said attorneys, we have a LUPA counselor, and we have a CIS counselor.
Yeah, and we also have LGPI attorneys, and they weighed in on this, and they didn't agree either. So what we've done is we've demanded the case law, the precedent, the actual law from those people who disagreed, and we've kind of weighed all those factors, and we think that we need to just go ahead and proceed as we planned.
So with LGPI, we were able to get a little different view from a little higher level. or-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
so I think we've got that worked out.
Good.
The last thing was the smoking policy, And really, I think we're in agreement on everything, that it's gonna be a smoke-free policy, not a tobacco-free policy. It applies to employees, visitors, volunteers, everyone on any county-owned property or buildings or vehicles. I guess the only question still up in the air is, do we need to have designated smoking areas? Most cities and counties, in fact, I think all cities and counties have a no smoking policy. And not very many of them have designated smoking areas. However, we don't have a designated smoking area here anymore, but we may have at the fairgrounds one time a year during the fair. So I don't know if you want to put some language in the policy that would allow us to designate a smoking area if needed. That language.
Well, we're not, and we talked about this, but we're not by policy allowing smoking.
Right.
And if we simply put in there, because we're gonna have areas such as the fairgrounds where there is designated areas, if we put except in designated areas, that doesn't mean we're gonna designate every property an area.
Right.
But it clearly says that's the only place you can.
Okay, so my proposed language would be something like this. The only exception to this policy, this would be at the end. The only exception to this policy is if Lake County chooses to establish employee smoking areas, or smoking areas, I mean. Smoking would then be allowed in those areas only.
I think that says the same
So,
thing.
I'm the one that struggles with this most. We're doing an employee handbook, and we're setting county policy and employee handbook. It's two different things when I work.
Yeah.
The employee handbooks for employees to sign when they come on. Setting the no smoking policy for county lands is a policy set by the Board of Commissioners at a different time. So.
I hear you.
I really struggle with an employee handbook that we're going to sign, have all employees sign, setting policy for the whole county.
Okay.
That's true.
If you want to just accomplish this with employees, then we need to strike one word from this, and that's and visitors.
Well, and then we can go back, Commissioner Winters brings up a great point, I didn't even think about that, but we can work on our county policy separate from this, if we want to go down that road.
Yeah,
I mean, for the county policy, I mean, we're sort of molding over there. We have several different departments. We got a road department, we got a fairgrounds, we got a public health, and we got North Lake Annex and everything. I mean, I'm not sure that a blanket policy on all county properties is going to fit exactly unless we do, like you say, mold in there for our designated areas. You know, you go out to the prison out there, they can't even smoke in their own vehicles on state-owned property. I personally don't know that that's real productive, because then people have to walk all the way and get off of that property to take the breaks, and the breaks are long, sometimes get a little longer. Here we have some challenges. Is the sidewalk city or the county? Is the street city or the county? Are people gonna start smoking right out here all along the sidewalk and give us a worse reputation than if we have a designated smoking area? So I think there's a lot of discussion with our department heads and everybody whenever we start talking, going campus free. There's quite an in-depth discussion possibly, in my opinion, and I'm looking, there's a couple of department heads here, I don't know how they feel, but I think that's.
We also have property beyond what has so far been mentioned, Eaton Park, Old Ramp Out, Bruce, individual private, I mean, not private, but individual parcels of land that we hold. So it's larger than just the courthouse.
So, go ahead, Ron.
So, we're probably the only one that has housing, but the housing is county. But the housing is also part of the wages, and he can do what he wants in his house. So, where does that fall into this? Because that's county property.
This has been some of my struggle,
Yeah.
it's a little more complex than just setting a policy on county-owned properties.
Yes, Jay?
because it was an issue with one of my staff, and historically, does the smoking also include vaping or e-cigarettes or all that appears to be smoking?
Yes.
Okay,
Was that a question?
that was a question.
Yeah, any form of smoking, e-cigarettes, everything.
Thank you.
So for the handbook for employees, is where we sort of need to narrow this down, because I think for the county facilities, for the public and everything, it's pretty broad.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
Okay, yeah, we can do that,
Okay.
and then take that issue up separately.
Yeah, and I like Dan's thought myself of designated areas doesn't mean that you have to designate an area, but that could be misunderstood by some employees, but that's, I like that thought.
Well, the only fear I told Jay we'd have is we may have people walking clear around the courthouse numerous times looking for that designated area, and we don't have one.
Well,
Yeah.
well, we haven't even talked about who's going to enforce it. I think Jay's
Well,
going to enforce
Jay's
it.
gonna, actually, Jay said yesterday, he's gonna move his office right out here on this pad, and Nick's gonna be on the side, so we got that covered.
I think if you look across the state, you'll see most public entities now are smoke-free.
Yeah, that's good.
And they don't really try to enforce it. They put up a nice sign that says something like, this property is designated as no smoking, please, please help us and don't smoke.
So I've already got the words for that sign, it's welcome to friendly Lake County, here's all the things you can't do.
Maybe one little insert that says, if you violate this
Took me a
prohibition,
little
yeah,
while.
we'll take it to Warren Creek facility.
Come to Lake County, more government in your private life.
Well, very good, Jay, I know you've worked tirelessly on this handbook in general, and you've done a lot of good work on it.
Okay. I don't want this smoke-free workplace policy to hang this up anymore. Are we okay with the way it's written then if we exclude visitors from this policy?
Well, probably. I don't
Well,
know.
on the
I
heels,
need to-
on the heels of it, I would recommend that, Ronnie brought up a good point, we have housing down there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do some designating right off the bat of places where we're not trying to control people's after-hours life in a place that they call home.
Yeah.
You know, and there's probably other examples of that.
Well, this is where it gets a little dicey. I would leave the fairgrounds and its operations to the fair board, that's a governing board, and let them figure out lots smoking area or not there. I mean,
Well, one way or the other, but at the end of the day, that we've gotta make sure we address those things, or they get addressed.
Okay.
So what's your verbiage for the handbook for employees?
Lake County provides a smoke-free environment for all employees. For purposes of this policy, smoking includes the smoking of any tobacco-based product and smoking in any form, including without limitation, cigars and e-cigarettes. This policy applies to employees and volunteers on Lake County property, vehicles, or facilities and buildings. Lake County vehicles and buildings are smoke-free areas. Smoking is prohibited during working hours while on the job. Further, Lake County prohibits smoking in or around Lake County vehicles and the public. If you wish to smoke, you must do so outside of Lake County's facilities and buildings. Smoking is not allowed near building entrances. Oregon law prohibits smoking within 10 feet of building entrances and other openings, including second-story windows. The only exception to this policy is if Lake County chooses to establish smoking areas. Smoking would then be allowed only in those areas only.
I got perplexed on the second-story windows.
That's Oregon law.
Somebody's hanging out up.
You're
Up
out
in the
smoking
air.
in the windows. It's against the law.
Okay.
So does that, the one part up towards the middle of that, doesn't need to say anything that, there is a few smokers, and they will smoke during their break or lunchtime. That's allowed.
As long as they're off property. So, if you want to press this, say, someone who drives heavy equipment for the county, as long as they're if they're on a job somewhere, on a highway or somewhere, on a road, and they are off their equipment, and they're on a break, then they can smoke. Because they're not on property, they're not on the job during working hours. But if you are on the job during working hours, you cannot smoke. If you still want to work on this some more, we can strike this and put it in the policy that already exists while we work on this, but I want to get this approved today, or this one.
Yeah.
It should be on for tomorrow.
Give some
Yeah.
thought to it tonight, this afternoon, and make a decision tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. The other thing is the agent of record. I've got that RFP ready to go. I've given it to you for your review. Jim Bailey has reviewed it and given his approval. The one change that I want to propose that's different than what you received was section 4, the evaluation criteria. This was Dan's idea, to remove the points from each of those criteria factors, which would give us more latitude. And it's hard to put a weight on those factors without knowing the details, and so I'm not sure it makes a lot of sense to try and put attach points to each of those criteria. So it would just read, those 5 things would be listed separately without points attached.
I think that's a good idea.
I've always found that when you put points, it ties your hands.
So this would allow us to choose one proposal or no proposals. It allows us to consider a lot of different factors, not just cost, not just, the whole package. We're looking for experience and expertise.
So going back to the criteria and doing away with the points, you'd still have the criteria there and have them just put what experience they have associated with those
Yeah.
5 things.
Yeah, throughout the RFP, I've requested all of these things, so if they've responded to the RFP, they will have addressed all of those factors.
So you'll sort of pull that together whenever we get to the end of, after we get all the RFPs, because I like the idea of being able to reflect on the criteria. The points I'm not worried about, but
Okay.
we need something so these guys sort of.
They know what we're looking for. Yeah, so here's how it would look. Section 4, it's those same 5 criteria without the table and the numbers.
And chances are they'll, in some way, as they're addressing the RFP, they'll make sure they highlight those points.
Right. So that's the change.
Well, just looking at one of the criteria, experience with public sector, would be desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much time? Well, as long as they're captured in there without the point system, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so
So before you leave that chair, we're gonna go now to department updates. Do you have any additional department updates you want to share?
no.
Okay.
Budgets are due this Friday, so we'll start putting those together Friday and early next week.
Did you tell everybody about the across the board 10% cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at least Jake and Dave.
What about Steve?
They're a lot more than 10% in a legislative year.
Yeah, you don't want that.
What's your worst case scenario? So is that on the agenda for the month then?
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we are into department updates. Ronnie, did you have anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, could I just share really one fun thing? Do I have to come up there?
No, you don't.
Okay, thanks. So, we were working with LED Light Source over in Klamath and Oregon Energy Trust, or Energy Trust Oregon, whichever it is. Anyway, so he came out, he divided what he proposed upgrades for the fairgrounds in 4 different areas, and then we prioritized them. Anyway, I was just figuring out the wattage on just the outside of the buildings and the driveways in, not inside the buildings or the barns or the grandstands or anything. And currently, we have bulb wattage, whatever you call it, and it's 18,700 and something. What he's replacing it with is 4,800. So, and that's just the one section. And so, in the arena itself, it has 25,000 watt bulbs currently, which will be replaced with, I think it's something like 10 400 watt bulbs, the new LED ones. And so, anyway, I'm just super excited, and those are all under the incentives. And so, the total project, if we did everything for the fairgrounds, was on our side about 7,000, a little under 7,000, and the incentives were over 25,000.
Yeah, that's the between the wattage reduction
Yeah,
and the cost with those energy
yeah.
credits or savings, it's phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, no, I was ecstatic just over that one deal so far, so.
That looks like a good place to use that extra money.
Well, I was just throwing it out there.
No, I was sort of
Just
being
in case.
facetious, but
It was
for this board, for the most part, Ron, I mean, anything that efficiencies that reduce the power bill and all that for the long range, that's what we've done here at the courthouse also, is look at efficiency, so pretty encouraged.
Yeah, I am too. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Well, I would definitely, as one commissioner, entertain tomorrow, as you bring proposals forward, anything that makes sense within the existing budget we approved last year.
Okay. Well, now I'm just excited. Okay,
But you have some work to do tonight.
yes, I can do it.
Okay, any other department updates?
I can give
Jake?
some.
Okay,
Since our fleet meeting we had a couple weeks ago, well, in our fleet meeting, it came out that our work crew Suburban is starting to show its wear and tear, and that the rear frame is cracked. So we're kind of limited on what we can haul right now in our trailers. And it's cracked from hauling wood, hauling stuff being used, not abused, but, so I worked with Ms. Thorstad yesterday. We're looking to identify, we found an airport Chevrolet, I believe in Medford. They do have 1-ton 4-wheel drive vans that they carry on their lot, brand new. So we're working with them to try and pick something up like that, so we can get back to hauling firewood, because right now we wouldn't be able to haul firewood at all with our Suburban. So we're working on that. Also, Buddy Ness, our work crew foreman, as well as our work crew, has been performing pretty stellar down at the old evidence building down here, getting it sheetrocked and ready for use, for work crew use, as well as facilities and properties storing their equipment down there. They've got things sheetrocked, the bathrooms put together, the flooring's in. There's the old countertop from the circuit courts is down there for a workbench per se. So the electrician's coming in hopefully next week to light it up, so we can have some power, so we can occupy the building and start, instead of having our work crew meet here, because we talked about the smoking problems and the smoking policies. A lot of it is our clients sitting on the steps out here, smoking, waiting for work crew. So instead of having them meet here, they're gonna meet Buddy down there. Granted, there's still gonna be a smoking policy, but there's other places outside of the county property right there that they can smoke while they wait for Buddy.
is it okay if we change the record and show that we're gonna power it up and not light it up next week?
Power it up, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Be sure and follow our policy on vehicle purchase so that we don't have one that says that they got an unfair advantage when you finally do go out for, get your specs together and follow our.
Well, we've reached out to different places seeking vans, and we were told they didn't exist. What the prices were in the 80s to 90s thousand. So we do have a starting point now, so we will be following the policy, getting 3 bids and working that. That's what I worked with Ms. Lorsted on yesterday.
Very good. Any other updates? Okay, we'll go to liaison updates. I'll jump in.
You'll jump in?
Yeah, there's been a question surrounding, and I'll do the short version of this, and Dave, if you wanna add anything, I'm just gonna talk about, at some point in time, Dave Berman, Tom Andrews, our airport manager, will be coming before us. There's been a concern about flights, emergency flights coming into Lake County's airport here in Lakeview during the winter, in the very cold weather. And the short version is we're working on getting some equipment that will be able to de-ice if de-ice is the issue. It's been pointed out by Charlie Twait, and Charlie isn't 100% sure because he's gotten input from different people, Lisa Cahill and others, that snow sometimes when they overnight or they're here for a long time and there's a heavy snowstorm on the planes. But in talking to both Tom and Dave last week, that hangar that we have is its first priority is to put a plane like that in it. But one of the problems we typically will run into is the wingspan is such that it won't fit. But we'll do everything to accommodate emergency services is the short version, and we'll have a presentation for the full board sometime in the future on what that cost might look like and what the program would entail, so that we can make sure that's not an issue going forward. We do have, this is just general for all of this. Well, this next one, NACO, or National Association of Counties, in the legislative group, our legislative director back there, Deborah Cox, and myself, and Mike Zupko, who's the director of our Wildland Fire Leadership Council that I sat on for our national group. We're gonna have a conference call because our legislative assistant, Chris Markland, who oversees public lands nationally as well as the Western Interstate region of NACO, which is a subset of the overall public lands body, just recently resigned. He's working actually on the Hill now, and so we're gonna have that conference call on Thursday to kind of talk about structure that would best benefit not only the public lands group nationally, but the WIR as well as the Wildland Fire Leadership Council. But getting back to the other Commissioner Winters group, we all are invited because it's a full board and full council to the South Central Regional Solutions next week from next Wednesday, the 12th, from 10 to 12, and then we have the Black Cap Solar Celebration that we've all been invited to from noon to 2. And probably not this month, but I've been contacted by AOC. The next legislative committee meeting in public lands for the Association of Oregon Counties is next Monday. I'm not gonna go, but I'm probably gonna try and go in May. It'll be after our budgets, work and everything else, but it's just been tough to fit any of those kind of things in. That's out the next couple of weeks, so I'll just stop there.
Okay, well, several different things for me, I guess. I was planning on being gone the week of the 17th. That has changed. I'll only be gone Thursday and Friday, so we're able to have our board meeting that week. I will be here. On liaison updates, I've been spending a lot of my time on railroad issues, and I will just keep that pretty brief. Have been meeting with the owners through a mediation process. Dave Berman and I made a trip to so there'll be more update on that tomorrow with legal counsel here, but we continue, operations at the railroad, services are happening at a little bit better, but there's also some cost issues that's coming forward, so working on railroad issues quite a bit. The interview committee done an interview switching over to nuisance enforcement. Done an interview of several different people. The job has been offered and that person will come on the 10th of April. Be housed down in our building department. Roughly about 20% of this person's time will be on the building side, 80% will be going towards nuisance enforcement. So looking very forward to that. It's been many years, as all of us know, that our nuisance ordinance has been out there, hasn't been enforced at the level we would really like to do it. Planning on making sure that we do start that the best we can, basically with a soft hand educational wise, try to get people to come into compliance. So that's real encouraging. I know Jay's probably gave both of you an update on that. So that's something's going to be different out there. We'll probably have a few calls from people. Commissioners are always ones that get the calls, but anyways, that's a good thing. Ronnie did mention at the Fair Board, just a lot of so many positive things going on out there. The new reader board will be put in, so that's going to be put in by July. It'll start in June, correct?
Pencil installation date is May 3rd and 4th.
She's just done a wonderful job of getting people to contribute to that. I can't even come close to breaking that all down, but a lot of people have contributed to that. There may be even a request through economic development for us to match maybe what the town does. I don't know, but I hate to put it out there too soon, but she sort of mentioned to me she sure hate for the town to put in more money than the commissioners.
We put a lot of in-kind time in.
So I don't know, I'm sort of greasing the skids here a little. No, but anyways, it's gonna be such a nice addition to the community, and she's planning on with the Fair Board member doing some PR on that and letting people know that these dollars aren't coming out of the normal operations of the Fair Board budget. These are dollars that have been contributed. There's other dollars that you are using some dollars from some of the sale of some of the water, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Well, if we have to.
If we have to, yeah. And so that's going to be really good. We got the entryway that's going to be done here this summer. The entryway is going to be all rocked, and she's working on trying to get the archway redone, possibly so it has some longevity.
I'm just waiting to get for Surprise Valley to get back to me with the posts.
Yeah.
And I already have Bob engineering it, so
Yeah.
I can get the permits.
And thank you for that, conforming to the right ways, the engineering and the permits and all those things that we do,
So is Ronnie gonna have the new fence out front too engineered, or can you just, you're just gonna be able to?
That's just a
replace it?
replacement issue, that
Okay.
doesn't need a permit.
And I put some rough numbers together on a fence, and it's a lot of money. But we acknowledge, especially with the new entryway, that we have to do something there. You may only see the whitewash and boards nailed up this year.
Hey, that works.
But by the 100th, we'd like to have something, because it's the 100th. We'd like to have that.
The 100th year.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the reader bird, you're gonna have the county policy on smoking?
No, we want them to come.
So, a lot of really positive things go on. Some of it was started before I was on this Fair Board, just carrying on what the Fair Board and everybody done before, but very encouraged what's going on out there. And the entry into our community coming west will look pretty nice, and so that's probably enough for now. I'll think of something else about the time the King gets started in his.
I'll keep my brief.
I'm going to be out of town from the 18th through the 26th on some personal matters. And otherwise, with the help of Ginger, we're still proceeding on broadband internet to our very rural communities, and hopefully cell phone. It's a long drawn out policy procedure. We may be able to get, well, I want to know on the Hunter Communication of Paisley that we worked on, they're gonna put 144 strands of fiber. This town only needs about 6. So the other 138 is for Commissioner Sound to downstream. That's what
Well, Oregon was out on the, he's sort of been on a pout here for the last day,
For that excess fibers, there's some promising potential for a loop redundancy.
well, and help market the community.
It'll pay some, but also benefit Summer Lake. And also, whenever tobacco cuts our main line from Bay Falls, we have a backup redundancy. That's been an emphasis for a long, long time. And the hospital's working on something also with us for our tourists that will give us a backup also. That's all I've got. But
Okay.
Those things are on the drawing board, they're not signed off on yet.
So our next and last item that we have on the agenda, Denise, is at 10:30, so I think it's appropriate to just sit here and wait. Recess until 10:30.
Did you need to mention anything about the ordinance or anything?
That's what we're having.
No, we're having
It's
it.
on the agenda.
We're also having a public hearing for updating our county fees.
Yes.
But they.
Are we doing everything that you